Longhorn Chassis has become a dominant force in dirt late model racing, with some of the top drivers like Bobby Pierce, Ricky Thornton Jr., and Jonathan Davenport driving them. And behind Longhorn is a big team of people led by Steve Arpin. We're going to talk to him today. Let's go. It's Sunday, December 29th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. Before we get started, don't forget that wherever you are online, so is DIRTRACKR. You can obviously subscribe to the show on YouTube and the podcast places, but you can also follow DIRTRACKR on Facebook. The daily show gets posted there along with show clips and lots of different photos and other content. We're also active on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and a bunch of show clips are also posted to TikTok. So give us a follow and come along for the fun. He's only been at the helm of Longhorn Chassis for a few years, but they have quickly risen to the top of winning both National Tour Championships this year and dozens of wins across the country. Steve Arpin is a racer himself with a decorated and varied resume behind the wheel, and this isn't the first time he's run a chassis business. Back around World Finals, he showed me around the Longhorn facility in North Carolina, and I thought he'd be a good one to chat with me during this very brief late model offseason, so please enjoy. Mr. Steve Arpin, Longhorn Chassis, I know that it's a busy week for you right now. Will you just walk me through what's happening this week as we talk right before Christmas?
Oh man, honestly, there's so much going on this week. I've never seen this place this busy, but it's fun. It's exciting. It's really promising for the state of dirt late model racing. It's really exciting seeing what's all going on. But just got back late last night from Brunswick, Georgia, testing down there. I think we had a dozen cars down there testing, and that went extremely well. They did a beautiful job getting the track ready. The boys kept on going to, I think they're at Ocala tonight, Alltech tomorrow night, and just going to keep on testing. But we've got so much going on at the shop here. I think we got 16 cars on the floor being assembled in the main assembly shop right now. We got a lot of customers bringing their cars in for rebodies, getting everything freshened up and everything. We got a whole pile of repairs over there. We got 2 shifts going on repair work right now. So it's been crazy. It's been crazy. We've never really seen this place this hopping, but it's a good problem to have, and we're doing the best we can and getting everything back to people to be ready for this little off season we have. This little couple week off season is a lot of stuff has to get turned around in a quick time.
I wanted to ask you about that because I just talked about that kind of myself on the show about, basically there's no dirt late model off season anymore. And, we're hearing about Lucas and World Racing Group, maybe changing body things for the future. But how do you implement rule changes? How do you do stuff like that and give teams enough time when there's effectively no off season anymore? I'm wondering how that, how in the future that's going to go. Are we just going to be looking at mid-season rule changes, or do you think there's enough time in this small window now to get stuff like that done?
It's tough. It's tough, and the hard part is for us to be able to keep up with what our customers are needing on the turnaround times they need, because there's so much racing to be had now. We have to carry so much inventory. So to be able to carry that kind of inventory, and that's why we work so hard with the series on when we're determining these rules, especially body rules and stuff like that. We can't just be making changes for the sake of making changes, and there has to be a purpose behind it. And we have to make sure that if we do make a change, it's actually going to achieve what we're intending to try and fix or protect the sport from. So that all being said, I know there's been a lot of talk on a lot of changes coming. I know there's some changes coming that'll be more so small tweaking that's not going to require guys to completely revamp their race cars. So that's a lot more manageable than if guys had to strip their cars right down and start from scratch. So that's a lot more manageable. But you're right, there is no off season, and when do you implement stuff like that? It's tough, right? We start building stuff for speed weeks all the way back in late August and September. So
the test at Golden Isles, and obviously you said those guys are going to go do some other stuff. Overton's there with Burrows and the Longhorn factory team. We saw Rumley was down there with O'Neill. What are those guys doing? Are they testing new parts and pieces for Longhorn, or are they just trying to get setups ready for Speed Week? Talk us through what exactly they're trying to accomplish when they do that stuff.
Well, it's two very different goals with those two programs. Kevin's program, obviously we work hand in hand on that program and partners in that program on that's our long-term development program. And I don't think that car has hit the racetrack the same twice since I've been involved in this program, and I'm sure before that it hasn't either, knowing Kevin. So we're constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to grow, constantly trying to learn, all that. And then obviously with Brandon and Anthony and the whole crew over there, they're building out their relationship right now and really just working together, running through changes, really trying to understand each other, understand their communication, their language back and forth. And it's going to be definitely going to be a well-oiled machine, and super proud of the way those guys are running that program. But the biggest thing right now is they just you can't replace time, right? You can't just make that up. So those guys are going through a slew of changes, going through a slew of different scenarios that they might encounter in race scenarios, and just making sure they've got as much ammunition in their toolbox, if you want to call it that, for when the season starts.
Can you give us an idea of what Longhorn Chassis looks like right now in terms of employees and your facilities and kind of just day-to-day operations for somebody like yourself and a company like yours where you guys have so much going on?
Honestly, it's been incredible. We've got the team we've got here. Honestly, I don't even know how many we've got employed here now. It's too many. It's a lot to handle. But we're just constantly trying to build for the future. So as far as our day to day stuff, we got Longhorn Dynamics. We got a few guys over there now. We got the body shop, the fab shop, the repair division, the house car team that we're partnered with Scott Riggs and Riggs Motors and Jason Riggs and Riggs Motorsports on. All that. It's From a facility standpoint, we've got a beautiful facility here that we're busting at the seams right now with lack room. I was actually there's a little farm behind us, and I was back there knocking on their doors earlier this morning because we got some adjoining property. They said no last year to selling it off, so now we're trying to get them to sell off a smaller piece of it just so we can get some more room back here to just house the growing demand.
Yeah, when I was up there, around World Finals to do the Overton and Burroughs announcement, like there's haulers parked all the way across. I was stunned that you guys are even able to get as much done up there as you can with kind of just how many people were in and out of that place. But um, the
It's hard to believe when we first moved in here. It was a big upgrade, right? Like we had more space, more room, more everything, and now we're busting at the seams already, just a couple years later. So that's hopefully it's a good sign of things to come.
Yeah, with the season kind of coming up here very quickly, is Longhorn going to stop? Like, are you able to give the guys like Christmas off and things like that, or is it you're basically just running straight through till Volusia?
We're running obvious families first here. It's always family first. So we are, but we're running the candle at both ends. We decided this year that we're gonna skip the Christmas party, and we normally have a lot of fun at the Christmas party. But with everything going on, we're gonna skip the Christmas party this year, and we're gonna have a We Survive Speed Weeks party. So we're gonna push that out to late February, and really just kind of have a special time, and spend some time with the guys in late February to try and celebrate and look back at hopefully what we accomplished through all their hard work this winter season.
The last couple of years have seen a lot of success with guys driving Longhorn chassis. We talk about Ricky Thornton Jr. and Bobby Pierce and the things that Bishop was able to do. And I'm assuming you guys are expecting that to continue with Overton. Are there like things that you can point to as to why that success has come? Is it just hard work? Is it the right people? Like when you look back over the last couple of years, like what do you see, for the recipe here?
Honestly, I'm a people person, right? Like I look at, like, we've got a an enormous amount of steel coming through this place, and an enormous amount of aluminum, and the reality of it is none of that has a mind of its own, right? So the way I look at it is we've got so many of the best in the industry working within our organization. We got so many of the best in the industry using our products out in the field, and being able to, I think the biggest thing that we've accomplished over the last few years is being able to take all those elements and get them all pulling the ship in the same direction. And we've got so many different thought process. One of the things that some people get mad at us for, but I think it's one of our biggest strengths, is it's like someone would call me and like, well, I talked to Matt and he told me to do this, and then I talked to Kevin and he told me to do this, and this person's doing something completely different over here. And it's so cool to see how many different ways there are to make our cars go fast, right? And that's something we're continuing to work on and continuing to grow on. So it's one of those things that when if I could pinpoint anything that is key to our success, it is 100%. The top 10 things on that list would be people. Easily in my book. It's just that's what it's all about.
Your shop obviously located not far from kind of the heart of NASCAR, and I've heard you say before that there's a lot of good people that were looking for jobs after watching NASCAR downsize. How important has it been to be able to have a workforce like that, especially people that are fabricators that you're able to then bring in and not have to have them move to different places and all of that?
It's huge, right? So we're the Labonte family, and them started this business. They grew it. They had great people up there, but where they were located was just a smaller pool of people to pick from, right? And so it's not that we have better people that they had there. We just have the opportunity to get more great people with where we're at now. So and like we're in the chassis building mecca of the United States, possibly the world of motorsports, right? So the resources that are around us. If we don't have something that we need, it's there's a vendor close by that we can have it same day. From a people standpoint, obviously one of the biggest challenges in business across the board right now is staffing. We've had our challenges, but we're also incredibly fortunate with being able to staff such an amazing group here, and then just having people that so many people that were so passionate about motorsports. I'm one of them, right? I came down here because it's like I'm going NASCAR racing, I'm doing all that, and it's like everyone's dream when they start out at the lower levels of racing is NASCAR, and then when you get there and you experience that life and you experience what that's all about, sometimes just taking a step back, and if there's an opportunity to make a living at your passion, your true passion, which is dirt racing, like that's I think that's what's attracted. We have so many just real racers working here because they've wanted a career in motorsports, they've chased a career in motorsports, they went down a path that wasn't necessarily exactly what they thought it was going to be, and then they've gained so much knowledge and so much experience, and they're able to apply that back at this level, and it's just proven to take our stuff, and it's just like I'm just so incredibly proud about the quality of race cars that we're putting out. And I tell all of our guys every time, it's like we had a young fella, I don't think he's announced that he switched our cars yet, but he just picked up two cars today. And it was like I told our guys as soon as he left, it's like that's a testament to the quality of product you guys are all building, right? Like that has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the name. They're looking to arm themselves with the best opportunity to go out and win races, and they believe that that's with our products. So that's a huge compliment and also a huge responsibility.
Your kind of career trajectory, we know you race modifieds, you come to NASCAR, you end up in rallycross, which is a crazy kind of offshoot, but then you come back to dirt racing and building chassis and stuff. Was this something you pictured happening 4 or 5 years ago, and why this business kind of, and why Longhorn, why now all of that?
So when I love dirt racing, I love modifieds. Obviously grew up racing them, and when I went NASCAR racing, my ultimate goal was just to make a career in motorsports and make a living in motorsports, but be able to make a good enough living that I could afford to have a badass dirt team, right? Like that was my dream. It's like I just like Clint Boyer. I just idolized the guy because he went NASCAR racing, then he went back and started a dirt team, right? Carl Edwards went NASCAR racing, then he had a Silver Crown team, right? So he helped me out with that. So it was my dream was to have the opportunity to have just an awesome dirt team. That being said, obviously my NASCAR dreams never worked out as I planned, right? And we had built an awesome rallycross program. And when COVID hit, a couple things happened when COVID hit. Rallycross was global, right? So I'd had the opportunity to race all over the world. I've raced in Brazil and Germany and Spain and Barbados and God, all over the world, so many more places. And that was when I was younger and a lot. I won't even say I'm mature now, but a lot more immature than I am now. And when Rallycross was starting to fire back up after COVID, it was going back international. And I am just so happy in my home life. I've got two little ones, Ryder and Chloe. They're 3 and 1 now, and I just don't want to be gone. So when it was going back international, and then obviously the American portion of Rallycross died off when COVID hit, we just had to look at, it's like we've assembled such an amazing group of people on our Rallycross team. How do we keep this going? How do we generate some revenue to be able to afford to continue to employ them so everything doesn't fall apart? And that's where the modified portion of Longhorn came in really fast, because that was something we could plug into quick, and it was something I knew because I've done it before, right? And that took off so good so fast that we really quickly realized that so many of our strengths and what we were doing with the program were what Justin and his crew over at Longhorn on the late model side were looking to fulfill. So it just made sense for us to take over the whole thing. Justin is still, he was out there testing with us last night and everything, so he's still a part of it. And we just migrated to doing the whole thing, and I can be home with my family a lot more. I'm not racing all over the world, and absolutely loving life. We're back in dirt racing, which was ultimately the original goal, and we just came back in a different way than we'd originally planned.
Were there ever discussions? I feel like when I've had conversations with you, and I know some of the people that you work with, and the vision that you guys have, but like it almost kind of reminds me of like Justin Marks a little bit, where he's got big vision and big plans and big ideas. Did you ever think about going and starting a NASCAR team, or trying to get in a different form of motorsport, based on, like just the connections that you have. And I know you know how to hustle for sponsorship, but like, was this always just, we were going to go back to dirt, or were there ever conversations about trying something else?
Well, we actually did that with our rallycross program. I raced for a team out of Sweden for the first few years, and then my partners Paul and John Leach and myself decided, it's like, you know what, we can do this better ourselves. So we did it, right. So as far as the NASCAR side of it, no, not necessarily on the NASCAR side, because that was never my passion, right. Like that was a means to put myself in a position to be able to enjoy my passion on the dirt side. So as far as starting businesses and stuff over there on that side of it, I'll never say never, right? Because I'll never say no to a conversation of what could be a possibility, but that was never ultimately the goal.
What is the kind of current state of the dirt late model chassis business? Obviously, we spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time talking about Longhorn and talking about Rocket, but there's a lot of other players right now. Is it really competitive? Do you feel competitive against those other companies? Do you guys talk, or is it cordial? Like, just run me through what it's like right now to be a dirt late model chassis builder.
So kind of going back, especially on the modified side, right? Like there's all, you hear all these chassis wars and this and that, right? We don't get involved in that at all here. I couldn't care less. We had someone that used to be in one of our cars and switched to another brand, and they were looking for a place to test. So I offered them to come out with us this week, right? Like I there is a lot of really good race cars out there. Mark Richards is like, if I can, I've said this from day one, if I can accomplish a small portion of what he has in this space, that'll be a huge success and something I'll tell my grandkids about, because I'll be proud of it, right? They build an incredible race car, and more than that, they offer an incredible service, right? So we try and emulate so many of the things that we think other people are doing right, because there's no point in recreating them. But we also try and put our own twist on things that we think we can do better, right? And that's our goal here. As far as like Shane Clanton's doing a great job with capital. There's so many good cars out there. There's so many people that have so many different ideas of ways to go fast, and some that suit others better than others. So we don't get involved in the chassis wars. It's so funny because Nick Hoffman's right down the street, and we had the Longhorn modifieds and Elite modifieds, and like Nick and I have talked before. It's like, hey, did you see on social media that you and I hate each other? We're sitting here talking, and but we're reading about how much we hate each other and all this stuff, and it's just I don't believe in all that stuff. I think there's plenty of space for all of us, and I think we all have our own strengths and our own weaknesses, right? So if we just do our best, I don't really pay much attention. There's always competition, right? But it's our goal is not at all to go out and beat or take customers away or anything like that from any of the competition. Our goal is to provide the best customer experience, the best product, the best service, the best of everything we can. And if we do that best, we'll earn business, whether it's repeat business from our current customers or if new teams want to give us the opportunity, we'll do that. So, but I can't say a single bad thing about any of the other chassis builders out there.
When someone comes to you and they want to either switch or buy a car, what does the process of that look like? Is it just they call up, say, Steve, I want a car? You're like, okay, yeah, it'll be X, Y, and Z weeks. Or, is there like a form they got to fill out? Do they have options? Like, what does that like process look like for somebody to actually get a Longhorn chassis?
Absolutely. So our biggest thing is we put together four packages, if you want to call it that are the most common packages, which is a good starting point for anyone, right? So once we get an idea of what state of a build they're looking at, we send them some options and then we tailor it to exactly what they're looking for from there. They just, whether it be me, Tony, they can call up Troy, any of us here, we can help get them in the right direction. We're pretty good on our scheduling. We have everything. We have a date assigned to every chassis number that we got in the books, and we're pretty good at our schedule. We try not to overpromise on delivery dates. We have an aggressive schedule but it is achievable, right? So we really work hard at that. So once we get through, it's like exactly what you're looking for, what state you're looking for, what level of build you want, what options you want, what upgrades you want, what type of tracks you're going to be racing at. If we can build out a shock package for you that's going to be best for where you're at and everything, we get Matt and Joe involved over at the Dynamics side, and just try and find the best package that we have for you. Lock in a date for you. You pay a small deposit to lock in a date, and then you pay the balance of the car when you pick everything up. But those build levels, sometimes people add to them, sometimes things change at home where people take away, and so on and so forth. But that's just a live sheet all the way until the weeks of the chassis and car being assembled and built. So, and then when they get here, we have everything ready for them, roll them out the door, and get them loaded up. And you can pick up anything from like a base kit, chassis, cockpit, deck tin, stuff like that, to a turnkey race car that's ready to roll out the door and go straight to the racetrack, which has happened often.
And then after someone buys, and I do want to ask you too about dynamics, but how much customer support do you provide after somebody buys? And like, is that, do half your customers want help afterwards and half don't? Like, what do you think that looks like in terms of the percentages of people looking for support after they buy?
There's definitely different levels, right? There's some guys that have their full staff, their own crew chiefs, everything on board that like to do their own thing and don't want to share, right? So they don't want to tell us things that they think we might share to their competition. And then there's other guys that really lean on us a lot. So what I try and be very upfront and honest with everyone on that front is we can't be everyone's crew chief. But we are here to provide as much support as we can, and that goes to our rookiest 602 crate racer, up until Jonathan Davenport or Brendan Overton on the Lucas Oil World of Outlaws side, right? So every single person that has one of our cars. A lot of people think that there's the perception out there, just because a lot of these guys get a lot more airtime, if you want to call it that, than other guys that we only care about the big guys. That's just not at all the case. Like the reality is Jonathan Davenport's expected to win races, right? Like he's going to win races if he's in our car. If he was in a Rocket, he would win races. And what's really rewarding for us, personally, that keeps us driven each and every day, and ultimately what helps sell race cars is if we can take a Saturday night racer that doesn't race all the time, that's working a full-time job all week, he doesn't have a full crew, it's him and his kids or something working on the thing, and if we can get him into victory lane, that is the most exciting thing for us here, for all of us. We all get more pumped up about that than winning a World of Outlaws champion with for the fifth time with Brendan Shepard, right? So, but like these guys get pumped up about being able to help the local guy that doesn't get to win all the time, that doesn't get to find his way to victory lane and we get to send out a feature win sticker to someone who gets their first feature win. That's special.
When I was up there, you walked me around and showed me the dynamics thing you guys got going on. I know you started that this year. Just give me the elevator pitch for what that is and what you're trying to accomplish with that side of the business.
Absolutely. It's just honestly, it's one of those things where we get so many phone calls about people looking for more specific things tailored to themselves, and repair work and so on and so forth, that we really wanted to have the ability to, if you called and you had a right front shock, you didn't necessarily want to buy a new one because you don't need it, but you just want that one tweaked. We want to be able to provide that for you, right? If you need your car gone through, you're struggling and you think you may have missed something, you need your car gone through and put on the setup plate and just have another set of eyes on it, because sometimes it's easy to get tunnel vision, right? And you're looking at the same thing over and over. It's easy to miss things. So the whole dynamics division is just, and the reason why we chose the name Dynamics is just because it's like basically just all moving parts, right? It's like everything that moves, we want that side of the business to touch and provide just another level of support for all of our customers.
When you guys are developing chassis, and I'm sure Kevin Rumley is a big part of this, but how often are you making updates to what the Longhorn design is, and how does that kind of then matriculate out to your teams as you guys kind of learn things and evolve these cars?
So the biggest thing, we've done it both ways, right? We've found something, we've learned something, we hit on something. Let's just call it Brunswick last night, and it's like we get just excited and we're like start picking up the phone. It's like, y'all need this, y'all need this. Well, then we're testing at Ocala tonight, right? And it's like, holy cow, that doesn't work here. And now we've rung the alarms, and everyone thinks that they have to have this stuff, but it's something that just doesn't necessarily work across the board by any means. So we've pulled the reins back on that a little bit because we've jumped the gun on some stuff, and then we've held some stuff for too long. So we're always consistently trying to find that balance of when is something ready to be released. And the biggest thing that we ask ourselves all the time is this going to help our customers more than it has the opportunity to hurt them, right? And there's so many things that we find that have such a knife's edge of an area of which they'll work, that if you're not absolutely perfect, if you can't go data testing before an event, sometimes we're actually hurting people if we send them something that they think they might need. And so that's a fine line that we run all the time. But as far as development, like I said at the start of this conversation, I don't think Kevin's been on the track with the same car twice. We're always developing. That guy, the amount of text messages I get in the middle of the night from that guy that he wakes up and thinks of something and finds something is I'm more concerned if I wake up and I don't have something. I kind of want to check on him, make sure, do a wellness check on the guy. So, but his minds are always turning. And then the best part of that is we've got Joe Matthews, we've got Matt Langston, we've got Kevin Rumley, Justin Labonte, we've got Anthony Burrows and their team now, and Brendan Overton, and we've got Jonathan Davenport, and so many of these guys that are contributing to the conversation about different challenges we have. We had Hudson O'Neill last night in our development car, and it's like, and then we also had Overton and Davenport drive it as well, right? So we're just getting so many different perspectives on how to make a wide ranging good car, and everything we learn ultimately ends up back at our customers, because I've said this from day one, and some people believe me, some people don't, but it's just the God's honest truth that like I'm not in a position in my life that I can afford just a whole bunch of race teams and a whole bunch of expense just to go racing. And we cannot, and I tell all of our guys this, we cannot afford to bear this expense unless we are doing something to help our customers. And it's like, because like we just can't do it, right? So that's where we're at. Everything we do on that front is ultimately to end up back in our customers' hands to give them just as many opportunities to win as we have.
When you talk about your customers, obviously cost has been a huge topic of conversation, around all sorts of things, but obviously very heavily in dirt late model racing. As somebody who's like, on the ground and on the very early side of this, where it's like you're literally buying steel and then turning that into race cars, What are your thoughts on where things are going and rules and do you have a position on things like just what are your overall thoughts on the cost to go racing right now?
It's tough, right? It's tough, and the hard part is like this is an expensive hobby, and we all know that motorsports is expensive, and trying to find that balance between it's like God, when we go to the grocery store, that's got very expensive too now, right? Like the whole world has got more expensive. That's definitely not exclusive to the world of motorsports, but at the same time, we have to manage that, and we have to do our parts as chassis builders to try and I work a lot with Steve Francis and Canute over at Lucas Oil and on the rules side of it, and I'll try and explain to them. It's like, guys, I'll give you the God's honest truth of what if you guys do this, this is what we'll do to try and overcome it, and that'll be expensive. You know what I mean? And the hard part is we gotta make decisions to try and eliminate some of these expensive routes because there's always going to be some people that have the funding and everything to go and do that. And I personally think it's important that we don't go that direction. So the world of technology is definitely changing every day. We're not going to forget technology. We're not going to forget aero. We've learned what aero does now. We're not going to forget that. We're learning more and more on the shocks and how to create grip in the shocks. We're learning more and more about the effects of the chassis, how the chassis is built, the materials used, the welding process used, so on and so forth. We don't unlearn that stuff, and the more we learn, it opens up it adds more drawers to the toolbox of things we can do to try and keep on getting better. So trying to continue to improve while maintaining reasonable costs is always front and center in our minds. And that's why one of the things that with all this streaming and everything, one of the good things the streaming has done is it's brought so many eyeballs to the sport. And like having Napa involved with us at the Dome was absolutely incredible, and having Heartbeat Hot Sauce sign on with us, and UNOH joining back up with us, and some of the other partners that we're bringing on board to be a part of this program going forward is exciting. That we're seeing brands start to use our space as a marketing platform, and not just to kind of like have your name on the side of someone's race car, right? Like they're actually seeing value in their businesses by being involved in the sport. And I think that's one of the things that's going to help manage costs as well.
Uh, One of the things I love about dirt late model racing is like the secrecy things where it's like we're covering up wheel hubs and we've got banners for the backs of cars and all of those types of things, and the conspiracy theories about how Hudson O'Neal is a mole at Longhorn and sending things back to Rocket and all of that. But like, how much like proprietary stuff is like really happening, and like, is there a secret room at Longhorn where like Rumley's got the secret plans to like just like what does that look like? Is that even a real thing?
Uh, yes and no, right? Yes and no. God, if Hudson's a mole and sending stuff back to Rocket, he's a nice mole. I don't understand. I gotta say this out loud because I don't understand that poor kid. I don't think you find a nicer human being than Hudson O'Neal. And when he came out of the Dome and I heard all that booing, I got choked up for the kid. So if Hudson is a mole, I enjoy having that mole around because he is the nicest mole that I have ever met in my life. So we'll let him keep on being a mole for a while if that's the case because we enjoy having him around. But no, there's a lot of stuff, right? Like we work hard and spend an enormous amount of money on things that don't work, right? Like that's what people don't realize. It's like we're always testing things, but like we'll go out there and we'll suck, and it's because we've tried to build out a theory of things that we've learned and try and apply a whole bunch of different things together, and 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 so when you do find something that does work, you got to protect that like it's your firstborn child, right? Because like you can't just put the expense of what it costs for that thing that worked. You can't forget all the things that you failed at getting to that point, right? So as far as the secret rooms and all that, we heard all those rumors, so we actually put a sign on the one door, Area 51, right? and so on and so forth. But there is some stuff that we're building in there that we are hoping at some point takes us to the next level, right? We're genuinely working on that each and every day, and it's a fresh sheet next level. Like it's trying to change the game a little bit and go to the next level. So, um, but as far as all the conspiracy theories and all that, I've heard everything under the sun at this point. It's remarkable. Like I've heard more about myself and conspiracy theories than I even knew about myself to begin with.
I love it. You've alluded to, even in this conversation, people coming in and doing chassis swaps that aren't public yet. And I know from where you sit, there are things that you know about and there are deals that you're a part of. Do you find yourself now kind of, trying to help people get into rides? I'm sure people call you and want to know who's got seats open. Like, do you find yourself kind of being a deal maker at this point to try to help people get into situations?
Like I'm in the very fortunate spot of being able to talk to a lot of people, right? And built a lot of relationships out in the space, and I try and talk to as many people as I can at the racetrack each and every time I'm there. So I feel like I'm in a lot more of a unique spot. Like when I'm at the racetrack, one of the things I don't do, like I'll stop by and see a lot of people, but I don't start looking under their race cars. I don't start getting into all that, and I purposely keep myself away from that so people don't see me walking into the next trailer and then the conspiracy theory get going that I'm taking one thing from one guy and giving it to the next and so on and so forth. So that being said, I spend most of my time talking about how people's programs are going, how their experience at Longhorn's at, if we're giving them everything they need from our standpoint, and so on and so forth. And through those conversations, I get to learn of opportunities that are out there, or challenges, or job positions that are available, and so on and so forth. And then when I go to the next trailer, I'll talk to another guy, and they're looking for something. They have something that maybe the trailer before was looking for. So I definitely try and connect all those dots as best I can, and keep, like, just if there's good opportunity to be had, everyone deserves a shot at good opportunity, right? So we definitely try and keep all those bridges up and all those relationships interworking with each other.
Do you feel, is that like do you feel a responsibility to try to help out your drivers and your teams in that way with where you sit?
Yeah, to the point where my wife tells me I need to be able to shut it off when I go to sleep, so I'm not up at 2 o'clock in the morning taking shots of Nyquil trying to sleep. Um, but yeah, sometimes it's honestly exhausting, the responsibility you feel to like you see these people, like I was there, right? Like I poured my heart and soul into my racing when I was growing up. And I remember when I made the jump to Larry Shaw race cars, like that was a huge, terrifying deal for me when I did that. So I understand, and there's a lot more at stake now, especially on the late model side, right? So I understand when people make that jump to us and they put that faith in us. I understand how terrifying and everything it is for them, and I do feel responsibility to try and make sure that transition, and whether it's just getting a new car from having an existing Longhorn, or coming to us from a different brand. um, I do feel a lot of responsibility to make sure that experience is the best it can possibly be, because there's a lot of money and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of sacrifice from family and everything that so many of these people have, that if something doesn't go good, that can make a lot of that stuff worse in a hurry.
I can't even imagine the phone numbers that you have in your phone. And I know, you worked with Ken Block and your buddies with Travis Pastrana, and Scott Speed, and all of the time that you've spent kind of away from dirt racing. But do you ever have guys like that reaching out to you curious? And like, I know obviously we had Travis Pastrana get in a modified at Volusia not that long ago, but is there interest like from outside of your kind of normal space in what it is that's going on, in dirt racing?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's actually kind of funny because an old friend of mine, Jim Pullman, who's actually Justin Algar's Xfinity crew chief.
I
I
know
was a little
Jim.
bit late. Yeah, I was a little bit late getting on this call because we were showing him all around the shop and everything. And I was telling Jim, it's like, I think the nicest dirt late model I've ever seen built was the one he built in his garage years ago. He actually crew chief for me a little bit when I was in ARCA. And so stuff like that. We had Greg Ives out here from Hendrick Motorsports. not too long ago, and we were going through our new car. He was actually helping us with that a little bit, helping us with some geometry stuff. He's like a front end guru, right? So working on some of that stuff. And and I got to say this. I don't think I've ever said this publicly, and I got to say this as just a shout out to all the, especially the young kids that are getting into dirt modifieds or dirt late models or anything with a 4-link suspension. We'll put it that way. That Travis Pastrana is one of the most talented drivers and well-rounded drivers, whether it be on a motorcycle, on a side, excuse me, on a side-by-side, a rallycross car, NASCAR, dirt car, or anything, right? And Travis says that absolutely, bar none, the hardest thing he has ever driven is a dirt modified. By far, he goes, he doesn't understand how we make these things turn. He doesn't understand what's going on with everything moving so much in the back of these things when you're on and off the gas. And then we get a 12-year-old that goes out there and he's ripping laps in a super late model, right? So just a shout out to all the young drivers and all the guys that do this, that make it look effortless going around the racetrack. It's, you guys are talented, you guys are gifted. It's pretty cool.
Somebody like yourself who has driven as many different types of cars as you have and all of the racing you've done, how come we don't see you race anymore?
Raced a handful of times last year, and I want to race. I love it so much. I just, everyone is so good now, and I'm a competitive guy, and I don't have the time. I don't have the time to commit to it what I need to commit to it to be as competitive as I want. And just to the God's honest truth is I'm having so much fun being a part of my kids' lives at this part of them growing up that it's too hard to travel with them to the racetrack right now. The bad part is my wife didn't grow up around dirt racing. The good part is my wife didn't grow up around dirt racing. So I get to go home and have a normal life, and she's opened up my eyes to so many more aspects of life that I never knew about before I met her. So I love it. Sometimes it drives me nuts that we can't just all pile in the motorhome and be gone to dirt track after dirt track for a month at a time. But that's just not her. But then when I get to spend time at home with them away from the racetrack, I absolutely love it too. So it's our greatest weakness and our greatest strength. But to give you a short answer to a shorter version of a long answer, I don't have enough time to commit to it. And if I would have to sacrifice so much time with my family to commit the time I would need to be as competitive as possible. So that's why I chose just focus on the business side of it for now.
How many times have you gotten in a Longhorn? Like, have you gotten in it at a test? Are there times you're just like, I'm going to bring the suit, I'm going to get in Rumley's car because I feel like it? How often does that happen?
Believe it or not, only one time in the late model. Like
Really?
only one time,
Okay.
and I was honestly I was nervous as all get out. We were testing. JD was testing one of our cars, and it's like we got so many people there from the company that were out there at that test, and it's like, and they all just said it's like, all right, Steve, it's your turn. So I get in there, and like I'm going out against arguably one of the best that's ever driven a dirt late model, and everyone's sitting here watching me like there's no pressure whatsoever, right? So, but I got to within about a tenth and a half of JD, so I was happy with that, and made about 10 laps. And then I was starting to probably get a little bit too confident and too cocky, and I knew we had to test that car again the next day. So I said, it's going to be this is the more mature, less immature, responsible version of Steve, and I'm going to get out of this thing right now. So we're not all working a night shift trying to get it fixed so we can test again tomorrow.
I know you're a busy guy, so I'm going to let you go, but I want to know just generally, what is your long-term vision for Longhorn? Like, if we come back in 5 years or 10 years, where do you hope this thing is?
Oh man, it's it's so hard because I feel like our 5 year goal, we're at year three and we've already accomplished our 5 year goal. So to repurpose those goals, honestly, the biggest thing, the biggest thing that we're going to focus on moving forward. We're going to continue to innovate. We're going to continue to reinvest in technology and trying to figure out how to give every single dirt racer out there that wants to be in our stuff as much possible opportunity at winning as they possibly can get. But as far as one of the things that I'm just adamant on, I may be wrong, but I don't think I am, is customer service and support. And if we can continue to find new ways to support our customers, to support the racer, while maintaining a healthy balance with our families at home and everything, right? But if we can find new ways to help our racer and provide the support and give them access to the same types of information that the people at the highest levels of motorsport have, I think that will create the natural growth within Longhorn that that will be the best type of growth we can have, right? Like I don't think we need to worry about going out there and trying to steal the best drivers from the other manufacturers and all that kind of stuff. I just think if we can genuinely focus on every single day giving our customers the support and the service that they need, the company will continue to grow and continue to flourish.
One really outlandish question. Longhorn Chassis Company is not called Longhorn Dirt Late Model Company. So I know you're building some modifieds. Is there a point in the future where you're building sprint cars? Is there a point where you're building midget chassis? Is there a point where you're building pavement stuff? Like, is this like, have you thought about expansion, or is this always just going to be late models and modifieds?
Well, I'll answer that question again a little while after I can get those people in the little farmhouse behind us to answer their door, right? So, as we sit right now, we definitely need an expansion. We definitely need more space, and we need to focus on making sure we can absolutely service our current customers and everything we're doing right now properly. Um, but there was a rebrand that happened last year. There's been things put in place. There's been investments made that don't necessarily make sense for Longhorn as an individual company, but could make a lot more sense for Longhorn being the umbrella to some other stuff in the future. So those opportunities are always there, and I'm a sucker for a conversation about opportunity. Like if someone calls me about trying something new, it's like I'm the first one to jump on the phone and listen. So, and my partners Paul and John are the exact same way. So, if we see something that could make sense and contribute to this company and contribute to what we have now, and then grow us into a different discipline or a different space, that's definitely something we'd look at. But only if we could do that and it be a benefit to Longhorn and not a draw from it.
That makes sense. Well, Steve Arpin, Longhorn Chassis, appreciate the time today, man.
Appreciate it, buddy. So if you know the people in the farmhouse out back, you got to get them to call us back because we need to get some property.
Call Steve. See ya.
Thanks for having me. And hey, you do a great job. I enjoy listening to your show every day. It's pretty cool. So you
I
do a
appreciate
great
it.
job.